CARM errors, induction and deduction. From CARM definitions, induction is the system of logic where specific facts are used to draw a general conclusion. It is a generic conclusion based upon specific examples. In physics, it is the means by which electrical properties are transferred to something else without physical contact. Also from CARM, deduction. Deduction is a process in logical inference where a conclusion is based upon an examination of facts. It is a conclusion that logically follows from the premises. For example, all men are mortal, Socrates was a man, therefore Socrates was mortal. Inductive logic is the science of non-necessary concluding. This means the conclusion does not necessarily follow from the premises. There are two additional attributes to inductive logic that distinguishes it from deductive logic. One, in inductive logic, the more premises we have, the stronger the conclusion we can draw. Two, with an inductive argument, we can agree with the truthfulness of all the premises, but deny the truth of conclusion without violating induction. Induction has nothing to do with moving specific to general, as Matt Slick teaches in his online courses. Deductive logic is distinguished from inductive logic by several attributes. The most important is that in deductive conclusions are necessarily drawn from the premises. This is to say, if we agree with the truthfulness of all the premises and we use valid inferences, we necessarily conclude the conclusion is also true. Deduction has nothing to do with working from general to more specific, as Matt Slick teaches in his online course. An inductive argument can be a list of specific premises and conclude a specific assertion. It need not be a general conclusion. When we conclude a specific conclusion based upon specific premises, we have not met Matt Slick's definition of induction. Here is an example. Number one, the U.S. president elected in 1820 died in office. Number two, the U.S. president elected in 1840 died in office. Number three, the U.S. president elected in 1860 died in office. Number four, the U.S. president elected in 1880 died in office. Number five, the U.S. president elected in 1900 died in office. Number six, the U.S. president elected in 1920 died in office. Number seven, the U.S. president elected in 1940 died in office. Number eight, the U.S. president elected in 1960 died in office. And from the specific premises, we conclude the specific, not a general statement. Therefore, the president elected in 1980 will die in office. Since this argument concludes a specific statement from specific premises, according to Matt Slick's definition, where induction moves from the specific to the general, we would not be able to determine if this was an inductive argument or not, since it doesn't fit his definition. Matt Slick's definition of deduction is also inaccurate. Matt Slick's assertion, deduction is a process in logical inference where a conclusion is based upon examination of facts. It is a conclusion that logically follows from the premises. For example, all men are mortal, Socrates was a man, therefore Socrates is mortal. And from his online course materials, deduction works from the general to the more specific. While logical deduction can indeed be based upon an examination of facts, this is by no means a necessity. Consider the following logical assertion. If A, then B, A, therefore B. We do not need any examination of facts to base this argument upon. Additionally, this assertion could be made based upon nothing at all. Indeed, A and B could represent anything or nothing. A perfectly valid, logical, deductive argument can be drawn using no premises at all. Clearly, such a deductive proof would not follow Matt Slick's definition. Using only a conclusion, one can perform a deductive proof. There are various names for this process. Indirect proof, proof by negation, and reductio ad absurdum are three names for the process. The process of doing this is as follows. Assume the negation of the conclusion, using deductively valid inferences that lead to an explicit contradiction, which is P and not P. Then conclude the negation of the assumed negation, or a double negation, of the original conclusion, which means not conclusion. And finally, we eliminate the double negative by positivization. We infer from the double negative of the original conclusion, which proves the original conclusion. Needless to say, from Matt Slick's definition of induction and deduction, we could not identify either of our examples as inductive or deductive logic, since it fits neither of his definitions. This means his definitions of induction and deduction are inaccurate and insufficient. Matt Slick teaches logic and critical thinking in his online courses, and he gets paid for teaching logic and critical thinking. The examples given here are simple, first-year, first-order logic. Clearly, Matt Slick lacks even elementary training and lacks the knowledge to train anyone in logic or critical thinking. His ignorance and incompetence is even more manifest in his information on CARM and his training materials of theology and Christian apologetics. We will continue to expose his ignorance and incompetence on these topics in future videos. For additional information about Matt Slick inaccuracies, fallacies, and CARM inaccuracies, please visit the following sites: www.carmfallacies.com, www.mattslickfallacies.com, www.whycarmsucks.com.